Hey guys, just wanted to make a quick video here today. Maybe not quite so quick. Um, First off, as usual, my recap of the week. I was it this side? I think it was this side. Yeah, it was this side. It's the fresher side. Forgive me, I've had a lot of tattoo areas done lately. Um, so yeah, I had this side blacked out of the star and the rose on last Wednesday. And I also blacked out this old trad dagger that I had here. It's going to need some touch-ups. Solid black is obviously always the kind of thing that needs to be done more than once. But yeah, I will need to blend this whole arm a little bit at some point because some of the fresher stuff is a little darker. So when you're doing blackout projects, there's a lot of kind of maintenance that goes along with them and is to be expected. Like if you're into a big blackout project, or if you ever start one, some advice is be ready to go more than once on the same section of skin. My key idea here is I was talking about last week how I would be on to a round of touch-ups next. Like touch-ups is the next appointment, which is tomorrow. But I've decided that's kind of silly because I've still got work to do, so may as well get it all done before I start the couple of weeks of touch-ups, which could turn into a month of touch-ups, because I'm just going to touch it all up at the end. Like, I figured better off heading over here and getting the red out of the way before I bother touching up the black. I'd like to see where I'm at before I begin touch-ups. Kind of see what the full scale of the touch-ups is going to need to be. As I mentioned last time, if you didn't watch, I got a touch up in the throat and some of the bend of the neck here. That was pretty anticipated because anywhere like that is, especially the higher movement places, like a lot of the bendy points in your neck, the flexion points, those are going to need to get hit more. Like those might even need to be done 3 times in the end to get them solid black. But they will be black. They'll be solid. There won't be any spots. People are like probably thinking they're already solid black. Well, no. If you get real close, you can still see some red peeking through, and in the throat here, probably see you can still see the outline of the old tattoo in there. So, yeah, we'll get that taken care of probably in the next few weeks. But before that, we're gonna get all this red out of here because I just decided that I don't want any of this red here anymore. I liked the red when it made sense, but the more I get done, the more I realize that this has to be a total blackout. Not necessarily taking out like this chest piece is staying and Spawn himself is staying, but like all the color that doesn't really belong anymore, that's all got to go. So it's going to be tomorrow's appointment. Now, the meat of what I wanted to talk about today is a bit of a long story. So, those of you who've been following me for a while or have seen some of my other videos, I've made a few YouTube videos about my septum, or have at least mentioned my septum a couple times. I have a rather large septum piercing, 20 millimeters, but it wasn't always so large. I want to talk about an experience, rather a journey I had many years ago. I think as early as 2012 this started. I had my septum at a 00 for a long time, and that wasn't necessarily by choice. I mean, to some extent it was a good stopping point for quite a while. 00 sounds good, right? 00 septum, huge. Doesn't need to be bigger than that. Well, that was a good thing to tell myself for a while there, especially considering I couldn't do anything about it. So for a long time, I had my septum piercing actually stuck in my nose. I could not get it out, and no one could help me get it out. It felt like I was just going to live with it. Now, as hopeless and as scary as that sounds to some people, like for example, my wife told me she would have been horrified in my position. I was more or less sort of fine with this because it didn't look too bad, but I guess I'm getting a little carried away. I should go back to the start. When I was wearing in my nose was a 0 gauge flared on one side tunnel with a screw on the other side, like a screw on back. Now, I had fastened it fairly tight so that it would never come loose, right? Like say I was sleeping, it's not going to fall off and I'm going to breathe it in, or it's going to roll off on the pillow or something and I'm going to lose it. You know, you want your piercings to be tight. Well, I got it pretty tight. I got it really tight. I got it so tight that I could not get it off. So, when I finally got around to really caring and thinking about it, because, you know, you love back and forth. You're like, oh, I'll probably loosen it up in the shower or something. I'll get it off. You know, so I did that for a while. I kind of paused on the idea that, well, I can get it off if I really try. Well, eventually I really did try because I wanted to get a retainer I had for a while in there. It was an adapter, I should say. It had like a 14 gauge hole through it, and I wanted to put that in and wear some of my clickers that I had. Well, I could not get it out no matter what I did. I tried everything. I tried even pliers, you know, lots of tricks that normally would work on a stuck piercing. I mean, it's a little complicated to get pliers into your nose, but that was where I was at. So that wasn't working. So finally I decided, you know, I'm not a professional piercer. I have done some piercing stuff and, you know, I generally consider myself quite good with that, but I'm not a piercer. So maybe if I go see a piercer, they can help me get this loose. And so I seen a few piercers. I went and I seen one guy and he couldn't get it loose. Told me it was hopeless. I was not quite set on that idea. I thought maybe he was just giving up easy, or I'd get a second opinion. So then I went and I seen another piercer, and she tried, and then she got her apprentice to try and help her get it free. And when I left there, she basically told me, well, I think you're wearing that for life. I think that's basically like part of you now. This is when I told my wife that, she was scared for me. Now, I would have been fine with wearing that for life. Honestly, I would have been. But what made me not okay with wearing it for life was the fact that they told me I couldn't do it. I don't like being told I can't do it. And then I thought, you know, it sure would be nice to, if I was stuck with it, have it just a bit bigger, because, you know, obviously I've stretched it. It's now 20 millimeter. I think 0 gauge, double 0 gauge, like 10 or 12 millimeter. So anyway, I had dreams of going a little farther with it anyway. And I was like, I'll be damned if someone tells me I'm stuck with something. So that's when I really got creative. That's when I brought out all kinds of tools. I got these tiny needle-nosed bolt cutters, and I got a jeweler's saw, and oddly enough, floss. Now, over time, because I could not do this all in one go, I would gradually try and cut into the threading to get it loose. Now, I say I couldn't do it all in one time because I would basically go till I was bloody and swollen and my nose was all cut up because I just could not get, and the threading was so stuck that this took me the better part of a year of whenever my nose had healed up enough, I would go again for an hour, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours, just digging at my nose. A jeweler's saw, just like this, just right up next to my nose here, just trying to dig it out. And it just would not come free. And then finally I got the idea to try a little bit of, like, you know, those flossy sticks. They got like the little floss here and the little grip for the floss. I don't know how to explain it anyway. Floss stick, I guess. And in the part that I had pried free with the jeweler's saw, because I'd made kind of a slash into the threading, I took the floss and I started trying to kind of chisel the floss inside and loosen it up. And I kept getting it farther and farther. And then one day, finally, I took the bolt cutters and I just yanked on it and the whole thing came off. I've still got the jewelry. I'll show it off in another video once I dig it out. But yeah, the point of this long story is, and not to pass up the fact that when I did that, I felt incredibly free to have that out. The point of this story is there isn't a lot of information on this kind of stuff. I mean, I Googled as much as I could. Google was basically useless to me. No one has had a similar story, and I really wonder if anyone else has ever had this happen to them. But ever since then, I have never put a piece of threaded jewelry in any of my my holes. I don't have threading on any of these anymore because though cross-threading isn't that big of a deal in your ear, I just rather never have another horror story like that. On the other hand, I am grateful for the experience, and I'm grateful to be able to share the insight that I gained from it. But cross-threading jewelry is more trouble than it's worth. I mean, I've had lots of cross-threading in my ears and stuff, but like I say, easy to get free in your ears. In your septum, inside your septum. I don't know if you've ever tried to, get a tool in there to chip away something in your nose. I'm sure you haven't. And I'm trying to make sure that no one ever has to. I've posted this story a few times on Instagram, and I don't really think it's ever gotten the traction that I want it to. I'll probably post it again sometime. But I wanted to do a video explaining this story too. I mean, I've got a few more horror stories about piercings to go still. I wanted to make sure this one got out first, and hopefully this can help someone. Hopefully now, with me posting a few times on Instagram and me now making this YouTube video, hopefully that if someone else ever gets threaded jewelry in their septum, stuck in their septum, there'll be something that they can find on Google to help them, or to at least give them some hope that, you're not so much doomed. Like, it can be overcome with a lot of patience and a little know-how. Anyway, I'll be making another video tomorrow after my tattoo appointment, as I generally like to. Probably talk about some future plans then, where it's heading, kind of what the pain was like and all that stuff. If you found this story interesting or useful in any way, be sure to, long day at work. Be sure to share this story with some of your friends in the body mod community maybe, and just kind of help me get this message out not to use cross-threaded jewelry in your septum, ever. It's just a bad idea. Anyway, I'm Ephemeral Remy on Instagram. If you like these videos, subscribe and share them with your friends, and follow me on Instagram. Hey, have a good day.